Hi guys, welcome to another tutorial. Today we'll be making a funk beat. I hear it pronounced funk a lot, or it seems like it's pronounced that way, but I'm not going to say that. Well, I said it earlier, but I'm never going to say it ever again because it sounds really bad. First thing to start off with, you're going to need a folder of samples. Like, you're gonna need a folder of either old funk samples, like 1970 funk, or like ambient music, anime music, whatever floats your boat. I wouldn't say anything works, but it's just a certain sound. Like, listen to funk music and you'll kind of pick it up. You kind of understand what could work. I've heard people use synths. There's a few I've made with synths in them that worked out pretty well, so it's not a bad option. I think the easiest choice first off is using a sample, so let's do that. Also, you're gonna need some funk vocals. Basically, the funk is based off of this Memphis rap sound in I believe the 90s. It basically sounds kind of like 3 6 Mafia, and that'd be the most notable group. I'm gonna name some artists you can use for funk vocals. We got Lord Infamous, DJ Sound, Koopstuck Nika, Koops with a K, that's weird, Lil Fly, Gangsta Black, Criminal Maine, Tommy Wright, DJ Squeaky. The vocal style comes from Memphis. It's based off of that. It's like a 90s sound. It's really lo-fi. And basically you can sample the old songs, and they're so lo-fi that you can just cover it with you can cover it up with like a more modern sound, and you can just cover up like the other sounds that are on it, because like quite often with these vocals you'll be sampling something with drums. Most of the time there'll be drums. Worst case scenario, there'll be another sample underneath it, like guitar or something. So you gotta like kind of keep that in mind when you're picking out a sample and when you use it. So I'm just gonna show you guys some stuff you could use. Hold up. This part would be easy to sample, it's just so lo-fi. But you just basically find a certain part of the song to sample and then get that. And what you want to do is have a sample library. Basically, you're gonna have a vocal sample library and you're gonna have a melody sample library. Let me show you guys my folders. So on my desktop, I have a folder called Stuff to Sample, and that's just like, basically every time I hear something, I'm like, oh, I want to sample that. I'll save it. So, got your melody folder. You can even go as far as classifying them. I do that, and I'll be like, oh, these are the ones I gotta hit like right now. So I'll try to get those first, and then I'll show you guys my other folder. I have like vocals I plan to use. I have like a vocal folder, and then I have them separated because I'd waste so much more time if I didn't have them segregated. So I have my Memphis vocals here. It's really good to have the Ableton information with it already. So like, say you know the tempo, when you save the sample, you write down the tempo and the title. When you bring in the Ableton, it should auto warp to that BPM if you have it set up in the settings. So I recommend doing that. And if you're too lazy to get your own samples, there's producers that offer sample packs. Almost all of them cost money. The only one I could think of off the top of my head is Wave God. He has like at least a few of them, so I recommend picking that up if you're looking to make some funk music. Okay, so I've made like a bunch of funk songs, and I still have a lot in here because literally sometimes you have to be trying like 20 of these in order to get the right vocals. So I guess like if you want to succeed doing this, like a lot of preparation is good. You want preparation H. Okay, so let's make some music. Opening up Ableton. None of this is pre-planned. I'm gonna improvise this here, just so you guys know. So you can use any sampler, but my go-to is Iris 2. It's a VST. The reason it's been my go-to for years is back in the day, quite a few DAW samplers did not have the capacity in order to pitch up and down without changing the timing. So Iris is the first VST I found that gave you the option of turn that on and off while playing on the keyboard. I'm going to be playing this on my Ableton Push. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a random sample in here. Tyrone Davis chop. I think that sample will work right there. I don't think it's worth it to flip that one. It sounds really good as it is. Flipping it would probably sound really dumb. If you use Iris 2, and if you're curious what I just did, if you change the pitch mode to radius RT, that will give you the ability to play the sample up and down without changing the timing. I think it sounds good in the original pitch. Doing a little tap tempo. Okay. Basically, funk vocals have like a very repetitive, fast movement to it. And like that kind of went into my decision to pick in this sample, because I can kind of hear that working over this. Maybe it's just the tempo it's in already. I don't know. Almost everything you sample in funk will have drums on it, which is one of the real rewards when mixing it. I get so much criticism on some of my funk mixes, and it's usually out of my hands. In my opinion, it's really hard to control some of the mixing in it because there's so many drums on so many things. It's totally bizarre. Okay, so next up, once I have that, this is probably, I doubt a lot of people do this, but this really works well for me. So once I have my sample down and it's looped, I like to get my vocals next. I know that sounds fucking crazy, but yeah, just straight to vocals right after. No drums yet or anything. Well, no, none of my own drums at least. So go to your sample folder and just start throwing shit in there. They should be auto warped if you listen to the earlier part of this. Okay, the first thing you want to do before even listening to this, like 99% of the time you're going to want to end up doing this later because you don't want these drums, right? On any of these songs you're going to be sampling. So number one thing you're always going to want to do is throw an auto filter on there. Set it to high pass mode, like that. And then it's kind of hard to say what to set the hertz at. Around at least 200 though, if we're trying to cut out the kick. something's off about the timing here. Hold up. I'm just gonna bring this in as audio real fast. There's gonna be a lot of warping too. I feel like, oh man, in order to clean these up, you're gonna have to do a lot of warping. So as you can see, it was off from the snare hit there. Should have been there. I think this should be here. This should be over here. In order to do this, in case you don't know, you just double click on this little arrow here and then drag it. Jesus. That sounds alright. Let's see what else these vocals have to offer. You know, I could go with this. Let's just do this for now while we got momentum. Okay, so I like to get the warping shit out of the way early just because if it's not lined up, it's going to sound fucked up. So I'm going to warp the vocal sample right now. That's what I'm doing. Make sure those snares and kicks hit on the ones and threes, twos and fours, you know. It's really important, seriously. Otherwise it's gonna sound like a clusterfuck. Alright. That's good for now, I think. Was that both of them? That was both of them. Okay, so next I'm gonna bring in some drums. I'm gonna do hi-hats. So this is almost all my techniques I kind of figured out myself. I've never seen anyone else do this, so I don't know, it's gonna be kind of weird. That's why I'm letting you know. So I use Reason sometimes for my drums. The drum programmer is excellent, called Redrum. So I'm opening up Reason right now. I put in a Redrum drum computer. Literally just put one on all the hits there. You also, I'm not sure if I'm really teaching anyone this right now, but in order to use Reason, you add an audio track. You change the audio input to Reason, set it to 1, 2, monitor it in. Then we're in Reason. The sound should be coming in once I pick a hi-hat sound. I have like a drum sound folder in my sound folder that I try to go to for sounds quickly. So I'm going to use that. Okay, now for the unique part. Press record. Whoa. Enable to press record on the track and the transport. And then I usually change the speed. I'll change the speed of this while I'm recording so I can like basically kind of organically play it with my mouse instead of having to program it. In a way, it's still programming, but it's like I'm programming it live, I guess. I don't know, just sometimes it's hard to think about it. It's easier just to do it. So that's what the concept is here. Alright, I like some of those cuts there. So basically what I do after that is I go back in Ableton, turn the monitoring mode off, and obviously the recording will be stopped. And then I'll go in and chop out the bits I don't like, keep the bits I do like, and then compile them together. I really like that 8th hi-hat, so that I know that's going to be like the base of the movement of the hi-hat. And copy paste the missing parts into the parallel segments, and there you go. So go into Reason, turn off the pattern so that it stops playing sound. And then we're going to open up a new track in Ableton with the Reason 1 and 2 inputs. That way we can add some more sounds. So I want to add open hi-hat to this. I kind of hear it in my head. It's usually what guides a lot of my decisions. Experimenting is really cool too, but kind of a gut feeling is definitely the way to go. That'll do for now. Now we need our kick and snare. I'm going to program it in Reason this time. I usually change it up all the time. Sometimes I'll play, sometimes I'll program. I mean, there's already drum hits in there, so I kind of already know where there has to be drum hits for sure, and then after that I'll add them in where I need them, because yeah, you gotta obey the pattern when you're sampling samples with drums. You don't have to obey it, but you have to at least comply with it in shaping your new pattern. Now that we set it up, now we add some bass. It is fucking hot in here. Okay, so there's a few different ways to do bass. My go-to usually is KONTAKT, and then I have a specific plugin I use. It's called 808 Warfare. It's by Producer's Choice. And then basically they have a bunch of powerful layered 808s that you can use in KONTAKT. I don't know what's the draw to it. I don't know. It's just they're strong 808s, and it's worked for me for years. So that's what I use. I usually layer them with kicks. My go-to is the dirty 808. It's pretty fucking dirty. Turn that release up. I don't think it really affects much. You can turn the decay up too. It doesn't seem to really affect anything though. But there are ways to change that later. So if we need to change the decay, we'll change that later. A lot of funk has gliding bass or pitch bending bass, both of which are pretty cool. And I don't know if there's a way to do the gliding bass in here. There might be. I'll have to look into that. But what I usually do is pitch bending. At least if I'm using this. If I'm looking for a glide, I'll usually open up Massive. I have like an 808 patch in Massive. Okay, so we're going to set this up for a pitch bend because the default pitch bend is only like 3 semitones, but we're going to want like an octave. So what you do is you see this tune knob right here. We right click that, external sources, and then pitch bend. It opens up this little tab right here. Drag that all the way to the right, and as you can see, it goes from, well, it was actually 2 semitones. 2 semitones all the way to 12. Now we're good. Now we can do some hardcore bass, man. Alright. I don't know what key this is in yet, so I'm going to figure it out. So I don't know if you guys know this. A good way to figure out if your bass line's good sounding or not is to try playing it really high up on the keyboard. Because when you're at a low frequency, it's hard to identify if the note is correct. Alright, so we got our basic bass pattern there. As you can notice, now all the kicks and 808s are layered up together. Like I may have played a few hits that were not kicks. Or they may have been slightly off from the kick. We'll clean those up later. Jesus Christ, I don't think I can not clean it up later. That sounds not good. Okay, so I'm gonna clean up the timing right now. Okay, I added it a little bit. Now I'm gonna duplicate this whole loop we got here a few times. Reason being is I'm gonna start doing some pitch bend automation to this. I'm also gonna add some distortion to this 808. First off, to make it dirtier. Secondly, to increase the duration in which it plays, because Isotope Trash 2, while being a really good distortion, it also feedbacks forever. So it's great for increasing the length of your sounds when you are having an issue. Add some power, doesn't change the sound too much. Good deal. Now we record some pitch bend automation. Hit that little plus there, that's your overdub button. So basically same deal as with the hi-hats. I'm gonna go in and chop the audio, find the good parts, leave out the bad parts, because there's a lot of bad parts there. With the pitch bend set to 12 semitones, you obviously don't want to pitch bend the whole way because that sounds bad. But it opens up the realm for a lot of cool possibilities in between, and it's really hard to control that, get that quality control down. Okay, so this last little one here is almost unedited. So I'm gonna go in and clean it up so it has no pitch bends here, since I didn't really like those. Basically saving this as a clean one as like a template to throw all these other little fills onto. The guy rapping this really sounds like Dr. Dre. Alright, holy shit. Alright, now we got some cool variations. Let's hear how it all sounds. Okay, so if that happens to you and you need to fix it, try wiggle your pitch bend around a little bit. I know that sounds like a joke, but no, just wiggle your pitch bend around a little bit and then it should fix it. Dude, listen to that. I'm kind of curious what that'll sound like if I keep that and then low pass the shit out of it and just make that my 808. Alright, so what I did is I've made 2 copies of the bass. I don't usually do this, but it's some experimental shit I'm doing here in order to make this bass heavier. So I low pass and distorted the shit out of this one over here. And I have a normal one over here without that crazy distortion or the low pass, and I'm gonna like blend the 2 of them. I'll probably end up cutting out a few of those pitch bends, but as you can see, you got the beat done. Well, it's kind of like a song slash beat. You can do some more editing. Like, this is just the basic idea, and it's all you need to get most of the song. But basically some FX, someone rapping, or I don't know, it's another hook, and you got yourself a whole song right there. Maybe add some change ups on the melody sample. That's another thing I do in order to keep the song interesting. Or even sampling something different after 16 bars or so. That's another cool trick. Song. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what kind of tutorials you guys want to see next.